What's up, bitches?
Let's talk about crime.
What's up, bitches?
Hello. Sorry, I was in the middle of yawning.
She's yawning. She's out here yawning.
Listen, it's a Sunday at like 3 o'clock.
It is.
I'm tired.
Okay. Anyways.
I went grocery shopping.
And you went out last night and drank a little much. So
no.
Maybe that has something to do with it. I just want to really quickly point out that we were so fucking wrong.
About?
That lady that was missing.
Okay. So for those of you that don't know what we're talking about, I literally saw this, like an hour before we started this podcast on TikTok. And I showed it to my mom and she knew about it. But basically, this guy went onto the news and said, my family went to bed last night. We woke up, our wife's gone. Or my wife's gone. Like
our wife's gone.
Like my wife's gone. I have no idea where she went. No idea. And so everybody kept saying that it reminded them of
Chris Watts.
Yeah, the guy who had killed
which I 100%
his daughters and his wife.
Yeah,
and
I
everybody
said the
was
same
like,
thing.
he wasn't crying, like he had the same mannerisms, everything. Yep. No shit. This probably came out a couple days to a week ago. I think it's the initial.
Yeah, I saw it like
it's November 2nd.
Oh yeah, I saw it because I saw it like a couple of days ago. Yeah,
so
a week
November
ago.
2nd is when he went to the news. Whole thing started. Tell me why. My mom and I are planning things for a trip that we're taking in Tennessee in December, and I'm just scrolling through TikTok while we're planning stuff, and all of a sudden it comes across on an actual like Fox News, like legit source, and it says breaking news, she's been found. Like,
by the way, Fox News, like local news, not Fox, the political news channel, like a local like Fox
their
news,
whatever
Fox
their
news local news are. Yeah,
but tell me why it came across. Breaking news, she has been found. Not only has she been found, she is alive.
Yeah.
And she is safe. And it does not look like there was any harm done to her.
I know.
I'm like,
well,
I was reading the comments and everybody was like, we got this fucking wrong. Like because everybody initially was like,
he's the killer.
Literally a Chris Watts situation. And now it's like, what the fuck happened?
So what does this teach everybody in the true crime community? That not everybody is a fucking murderer, for one. And for two,
you can't trust anybody.
Yeah, for real. You can't.
Like, genuinely.
And for all we know, maybe she snuck out in the middle of the night because she wanted to escape. Too, like, or what if she suffered like a mental lapse where she doesn't
mental health issues?
Right. Or like where maybe she was sleepwalking in the middle of the night and, ended up not figuring out where she was. But I don't know. But the fact that it took them though, like a week to find her though,
and somebody reported
that they saw her, so it's one of those things that's like, did she purposely leave? Like, I don't know. I'm waiting for more information because there's definitely more to the story. I just need to know what it is.
The initial says that none of her stuff was missing.
Right, she didn't take anything, but she was gone, which is why
but I think that was the same with Shanann. I don't think anything was missing when they went in.
No, I don't think so
because
either.
His whole thing was she left with my kids.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, this whole entire thing is like so crazy. So I just wanted to say to all you true crime junkies out there, we got it wrong.
Yeah,
we got it wrong. I mean, we
got too excited.
We did. We feel like we're fucking rock stars and we kind of shit the bed, but no harm done. Oh, and also I don't know. We'll have to report on this later, but when we go to Tennessee, one of the things we're doing in Tennessee is we're going to Alcatraz East, which is a true crime museum. And we got the VIP package because that's how we do. And so I've heard really good things about it. And so I'm really excited. I actually have
wanted to go to this museum
since I found out about it.
Young. And like when it came out and I found out about it, I've wanted to go forever. And so the fact that we're able to go.
Yeah, we're going to get to go do that. And the thing is, I've also talked about it on Fatal Blend as well. There may be a chance that we do 2 separate like bonus episodes, one with us and then one on Fatal Blend, just to talk about our personal experiences. I mean, we've talked about doing that for Alcatraz on Fatal Blend. You and I talked about Alcatraz not too long ago because we did somebody that was in Alcatraz. But I think the True Crime Museum is cool. If we don't do an episode, we'll just definitely talk about it.
The other thing is, too, we had a local murder happen. They found her dead in her car with her child in the backseat completely unharmed and alive. But push comes to shove, we'll try to keep you guys updated on that one too, because they just came out and said they're pretty sure it was
there's
a
foul.
homicide.
Yeah, there's foul play of some sort. I tell you what, this world we live in, I swear to Jesus, every time I don't watch the news, but when I fucking like the news pops up on like the computer or like news pops up on my phone, and every time it's, oh, so-and-so was murdered last night, or oh, shooting, or oh, mass shooting, or oh, I mean, England just, was it England? Shitballs. I can't remember if it was England or somewhere else, but somewhere across the world, there was a mass stabbing because they don't have guns.
Okay,
It's not funny. It's not funny.
I shouldn't laugh, but
there was a mass stabbing. Yeah, like 10 or 15 people got stabbed.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So anyways, which, I mean, that's what we do here. We talk about murder. So I guess that's a good segue into what we're talking about today.
That's true.
I think you're going to like this one. I didn't know what to expect. I randomly came across this guy. So his name is Mark Twitchell. And Twitchell, Bitchell, Mitchell. Love you, Mitchell. So his name's Mark Twitchell. And he murdered a man named John Altinger. And this happened in October of 2008, and it happened in Canada. So we're going to give a little background on good old Mark. Oh, okay. I say background like as if I have a bunch of information. I don't. I don't. Spoiler. So Mark was actually born July 4th, 1979 in Edmonton, Alberta. That's in Canada. Now, not a lot is known about his younger years. Like when I say not a lot, like fucking nothing. Like fucking nothing. However, according to Mark himself, he did not have a bad childhood. He did not have any abuse. He did not have any sort of neglect, nothing. He grew up in a fucking normal ass household. That's according to Mark. Okay. So we're just going to leave that there, but there's nothing out of the ordinary that ever happened in his life. He had no bullying. He had no abuse. He had nothing like that. So therefore, probably why there isn't much about his background. But one thing is for certain, Mark loved movies and television. Loved them. Loved from a very young age. He loved watching TV, not because it's TV, but he actually like connected with the TV shows and stuff. He loves it so much. He actually ends up enrolling in the radio and television program at the Northern Alberta Institute of Technology. And he goes there and he actually gets a bachelor's degree in the year 2000. Now, in January of 2001, he meets and marries a woman named Megan Castorea. And they do end up... We have really good sound effects. She was upset that they got married, clearly. So all
three dogs are in here right now.
Yeah, all three dogs are in here, so pardon. They end up actually divorcing after a couple of years of being together because they just didn't get along. Like there's nothing crazy. They just didn't, whatever. Then in January of 2007, Mark actually meets and marries his second wife. And in all the reports I saw, they just called her Jess. They didn't tell her full name, nothing like that. So he married a woman named Jess, and they actually also have a daughter together. Now, being that he is an aspiring filmmaker, he actually did make a fan film for Star Wars that was called Star Wars: Secret of the Rebellion. And actually, it got like...
I think I've heard of that.
Yeah.
Like genuinely.
Yeah. It actually got like noticeably, like it got noticed a lot online. And he did even have like a guy who starred in the show that was like an actor, like not like superstar actor, but he was an actor. So like it caught a lot on. So that was really good. Now he also went on to create like a couple other little like films. And he really was working on a short horror film. Now, the short horror film was called House of Cards, which I find weird because Netflix has House of Cards, the fucking TV show, but it's House of Cards. And so for this movie, this horror film that he wanted to film, he actually rented out a garage, and that was where he was going to do all of his filming. And he was also really interested in like other kinds of movies, TV shows. He especially loved Dexter, which I love Dexter. I love Dexter. I have not seen the new Dexter, but I have watched all of the other Dexters. I love Dexter. If you haven't seen Dexter, it's a American TV show. I highly recommend if you're really into like true crime and things like that. Basically, Dexter is a TV show that follows a blood spatter expert, and what nobody knows is that he's actually a vigilante serial killer. So he spends...
if you're the viewer.
No,
but
if you're
like
the viewer, but I mean in the show,
know.
yeah, nobody else knows. But he basically is a serial killer, but his whole entire thing is that he only kills bad people and people who deserve to die. So he's basically vigilante justice, which I'm not really. I believe that vigilante justice is a thing. Maybe not to the extent of murder, but I'm not like anti-vigilante justice. So it's kind of fun to watch. Anyways, he was really interested in that show, as like everybody is. But he actually loved Dexter so much that he started up a Facebook page. He would actually write about each episode, like as he would watch it, but as if he were Dexter. So that's a little creepy.
So he was studying the
He's
criminology
a little creepy
part.
So this brings us to October 3rd, 2008. There's a man named, I apologize, I don't know how to say his name, Giles Tetrialt, and he's heading to a location in Edmonton, in Canada, where he's supposed to meet up with a woman that he met online, and her name was Sheena. Now, he had actually received directions from Sheena, and they were like directions, not an address, not like, oh, my address is blah, blah, blah. It was legitimately like, take a left. Yes. If you're coming from this area, take a left here, take a right here. And then it was like, you're going to go down an alley and there's a bunch of garages. I'm the garage that's going to be open. Like there's a garage. It's going to be left open a little bit. There's like 4 garage. Like that was, which again, I actually saw the copy of the directions that he was given, but it wasn't like creepy. Like at first you hear this and you're like, it's fucking creepy. It really wasn't.
Yeah,
though.
but that was also back in 2008. And
Right.
I remember back in 2008, like Grandma and Papa would print off directions that said turn right. At blah, blah, blah.
And to be honest, these are directions that he was given from the girl he was talking to, and they were very lighthearted. Like at one point she was like, you're going to turn down it's a driveway, and it kind of looks like the Amazon, because there's all kinds of, when I first read it, I was like, Amazon? What's an Amazon Prime? Or I mean, I meant, what's an Amazon? Like, what? And then I realized she was saying, because she said, oh, it's going to look like kind of like an Amazon. And then she says, I mean, what's an Amazon driveway anyways? Ha ha. So it was like a joke. Like she was joking and just saying like, this is better to do it this way. And I think her explanation was really because she was having him get to the garage, because I guess the garage in her mind was like the back of her house, and maybe don't give him actual directions. I don't fucking know. Anyways, regardless, whatever. So he has these directions and he's following them. Now he does end up finding the garage, and he sees the garage is open. It's the only garage that's like slightly open. So he goes into the garage. And as soon as he walks in the garage, he's actually hit with a stun baton, and he like turns and he sees this dude with a fucking painted hockey mask with this fucking like thing in his hand. And then he holds him at gunpoint and he tells him to get down on the ground, and he puts duct tape over his eyes. Now at this point, I wish I could say his name right, but I'm going to say his last name because I feel like Tetrialt probably a better name. Anyways, he decides at this point, because he's a bad ass motherfucker. He's like, if I'm going to die, I'm going to fucking die fighting, which bravo, sir, because I am on the same page. Not going down without a fight. You better fucking kill me. So he's like, nope. And so he stands up and rips the fucking duct tape off of his face, which also, if it's over his eyes, like your eyelashes, goodbye eyelashes.
Maybe they bought the Walmart brand, so it
not
wasn't
as sticky. Maybe. So he rips the duct tape off his eyes and he grabs the guy. Well, when he grabs the guy, he also happens to grab the gun, which was in his waistband. And as soon as he grabbed it, he realized it's fake. It's plastic. And he says to this day, he's like, that was the best news that I could have ever had in my hand, because it was like, oh, hell yes, he can't even shoot me. Now I'm going to fight like fucking hell. And he did. He fought and fought, and he actually ends up getting away. He gets out of the garage, runs to his car, and fucking speeds off and never looks back, like just fucking goes. Well, unfortunately, he does not report this to the police. And his reason why is because he was embarrassed. I understand. However, I would venture to guess that this man now has survivor's guilt. That is going to be my guess. So I'm not going to shit on him for that, because that's traumatic as fuck. And I'm not going to be upset with you for not going to the police because you're embarrassed. Fair enough. However, on October 10th, 2008, Brian Altinger is 38. He's from White Rock, British Columbia. And he tells his friends and family that he is meeting a woman that he met online using the dating website Plenty of Fish. He gives his friends the address that he's going to. So he actually has an address, and he gives them the address that he's going to. Off he goes. Well, he too gets to the address and he is immediately attacked when he walks into the garage. He is beaten and then stabbed. His body is dismembered and his body parts are put into garbage bags and disposed of in a storm sewer. Okay. Obviously, it didn't happen that quickly. I just don't have details to tell you.
For people that don't know, it seems very Dexter-esque.
Oh, you've already caught on.
Wow.
Bravo. So
Listen, I never finished the show, but I at least watched enough to know.
Oh, it gets more Dexter.
I at least finished season 1.
It gets more Dexter-like.
Okay.
So 3 days after meeting up with the woman, his friends and family actually receive an email that says that he met a woman named Jen and she offered to take him on a super long vacation to Costa Rica. So he was leaving the city to go on this vacation. He also emailed a letter of resignation to his work. And it said, I'm going to be gone for quite some time. I'm quitting. This is my 2-week notice. And they responded to the email and they're like, that, okay, fine. Do you have a forwarding address that you would like us to send your last check to? Which they never received an email back. The original, email to his friends and family kind of triggers suspicion to Brian's family because they're like, we haven't heard from him in 3 days. And now all of a sudden he just up and left with some lady that he just met. No. So they go
especially being so cautious with like, oh, this is the address.
Right. Because he did what you're supposed to do.
Right.
If you're dating, if you're even right now in this world, if you're online dating, if you're meeting up with somebody, you tell somebody where you go. As a matter of fact, one of my friends, when she was dating, because she was doing dating apps, she would text me and be like, I'm going to be meeting up with somebody here. This is where I'm going to be tonight. And then we had this thing between like our little friends that if she went somewhere, if we didn't hear from her within like 6 or 7 hours, she had to check in. She'd have to send us a text to let us know she was good. And actually, she had actually went to a different state to go visit her boyfriend at the time, who she had never met. And we actually had code words that she had to text us. So we knew that it was her texting and we knew that she was safe. That's what true crime lovers do. You find the ways to make sure nobody can bullshit your ass. So we knew she was safe because we'd text her a question and she knew the right answer. And the guy she was meeting did not. So if he had killed her, he wouldn't be able to respond appropriately. Anyways, so he did what he was supposed to do. And so they were kind of like, this doesn't make sense. So they end up going to his apartment, actually. And they break into his apartment because it's locked. And once they get in, they realize that like, yeah, he's definitely did not go to Costa Rica because his passport is still in his house. There are dirty dishes in his apartment. And there is no indication that he packed anything to go anywhere. So the family decides they're going to report him missing because they're like, something's definitely not wrong or something's definitely not right. They call the police. They tell the police what's going on. And they're like, oh, by the way, we have an address where he supposedly was meeting this chick. And they were like, cool, yeah, we'll go check it out. So the police go to the address and lo and behold, they find this fucking garage. And they look into it. It's a garage. They're knocking on the doors. Nobody's answering. So they find out like who owns the garage. And they find out that this garage is being rented by a man named Mark Twitchell. Now, there's a few different ways this has been reported, but I'm just going to tell you the gist of it. Basically, at some point, the police contact Mark Twitchell's household. They have a conversation with his wife and they're like, we're looking for your husband. There's some weird shit going on. This is the address that was given, blah, blah, blah. She knows nothing about this. And she's just like, yeah, I don't know. He's here, wherever. So they meet up with Mark Twitchell. They talk to him and they're like, do you mind if we take a look in the garage? Because he's, this guy was supposed to be coming here to meet somebody to date, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, I mean, yeah, okay. They go into the garage and they find that the inside of the windows are covered with plastic, very Dexter-esque. Mm-hmm. There's a blood spatter on a table and there's cleaning supplies all inside this place. Now he explains to the officers that he is a filmmaker and that the blood spatter is from a film that he just made from a slasher movie that he's working on. And the cleaning supplies are because he's been working on cleaning it up because it's a slasher horror film. And so there was a lot of blood in the scene that he had just filmed. So this is what he tells them. He also explains that the movie I'm making is about men who are lured to a garage by a fake woman dating scheme. And then they're killed in this garage.
This guy could not be more stupid. Like genuinely. Could not be more fucking dumb.
No. So again,
I feel bad that he is a murderer.
Don't. Don't feel bad because
you're
just
really
don't.
stupid. You're fucking dumb.
Now he says again, but the blood that you see, it's all from the movie that I mean, I just filmed a murder scene like a couple days ago. I've been cleaning it up because I still have some filming to do. So the police are like, okay, well, who's the actors in this movie? Can you give us some information? So he does. He gives him the name of a guy who is actually set to star in this movie. So they reach out to the guy and they said, hey, so you're supposed to be part of this film for this House of Cards horror movie. And he's like, yeah. And they're like, okay, so how much blood splatter or spatter was used in the movie like this far? Like how many slasher scenes have there been? And his response was none. He's like, we haven't done anything yet because he said, I never have even started filming because I showed up at the garage and I was walking through and he had all of the weapons out on the table that were going to be used in like the movie. And I noticed that all of them were real, like the knives and the swords and stuff were real. And I fucking ran out of there because that's definitely not a movie. So this is what he tells them. So they go back to Brian and they're like, okay, so I have another question. Do you know somebody named Brian Altinger? Sorry, but again, I'm a fucking shitty person. I apologize. Do you know this guy named Brian? And he's like, no, I don't. And they're like, you've never met him? No. But he had the address to this garage, not from me. Kate, have you ever been on the dating site Plenty of Fish? No. Do you know a woman named Jen? No, I do not. Right. So he says all these things. And then all of a sudden he's like, oh, wait. Oh, no, not all of a sudden. To be fair, they continue to dig into it. One of the things that they noted about Brian is that Brian had a red Mazda 6 car. And that was the only thing that was missing was his vehicle. And his family was like, well, yeah, that makes sense because he took his vehicle to the place that he was going to. So they're searching for this red car and they end up seeing a red car outside of Brian's house. And so they talk to Brian about this red car and he says, oh my God, yeah. That's the Brian guy. This is his car. And they're like, okay, well, how did you come? How did it come to you? And he said, well, I met Brian. I was sitting in my car and he knocked on my window and he had told me that he met this rich woman and she was taking him to Costa Rica. So he no longer needed his red Mazda 6 and he wanted to know if I wanted to buy it from him. And his response to that was, which, you did. And he's like, oh yeah. And they're like, how much did you buy it for? $40. No, the fuck you didn't. No, you didn't, Mark. So that's what he tells them. He's like, well, it's 40 Canadian dollars, whatever but $40. That's it. And so now the police are like, hold the fuck on. You said you didn't know him. Now you know him. You have his fucking car that you supposedly bought for $40, but you didn't remember who the guy was. Okay. So they immediately get like search warrants and all these things. They impound his car. They take his laptop and they actually find in his car, they find blood in Mark's car. They check the blood against Brian's blood or blood type or whatever, his DNA, and they find, oh, that matches. Okay. So right then they're like, okay, well, Brian's blood is somehow in Mark's car, which is weird. So they arrest him, obviously. But as they're continuing their investigation, they also find on his laptop that there's a deleted document that's like hidden, like it was deleted, but not like completely deleted. When I was reading it, one of the things they said is what triggered them to they were looking at the laptop anyways, but what triggered them to kind of look in like the back doors and shit of laptops is that Mark kept saying that he was a computer genius. And he kept saying like, I am an above average computer person. I know a lot about computers. I know how to delete things, files, blah, blah, blah. So he kept saying these things that are like, okay, well, we're going to look deeper into your computer. So spoiler alert to everybody in the world. If you have a computer and you're doing bad shit on your computer and you delete it, it doesn't delete it. It stays in your fucking computer and they can find it. I'm sure there's a way to permanently delete shit, but only
yeah,
really,
but even then it's not permanent.
It's like nothing ever is permanently gone. So keep that shit in mind when you're doing bad stuff. Anyways, or
just don't do bad shit. That's the other fucking option.
That's true. That works. Well, okay, let's make it even. Don't do something like, I don't know, look at porn on your parents' computer and then try to hide it because your parents will find out. I wasn't meaning bad stuff. I'm just saying.
And no, she's not talking about me.
I'm not talking about either of my kids. I'm just saying in general, that's one of the things that people do. I'm just saying. Anyway, so they actually find, hidden away a document that is named SK Confessions on his computer. What he says, so they ask Mark about this file. And what he says is, oh, it stands for Stephen King. I don't know why. I don't know why. And then he later says, well, it also stood for serial killer too. So serial killer confessions is basically what it was. What he says, oh, this is a document that I was creating for a movie, another movie that I wanted to make. So serial killer confessions. The document actually had detailed information. One was detailed information about a failed attempt at killing a man. And then another set of details at the success of killing a man in a garage while using a fake persona online. And it actually started out, the document starts out with, the story is based on true events. The names and events were altered slightly to protect the guilty. This is the story of my progression into becoming a serial killer. But, it was fake.
I want to bang my head against the fucking wall.
So
of how idiotic he is.
So all of this evidence allows them to really, truly,
I fucking hope,
arrest Mark Twitchell. And he is actually arrested on October 31st of 2008. Now I know it's, I know we could have done this for a Halloween episode.
No kidding.
So he's actually charged with first degree murder. Now, by the way, side note, his wife decides to divorce his ass. They actually found out when they were doing interviews and stuff that their marriage was already kind of on the rocks anyways. And he had a girlfriend too, on the side that he was kind of messing around with. So they're whatever. She, as soon as this shit happens, she's like, yeah, bitch, I'm out. I don't even give a fuck if you did. She didn't wait to find out if he was guilty. She's like, I could give a shit if you fucking did it or not. You're not worth my time, you loser. And so
it was the icing on the cake.
It was I said it was the straw that broke the camel's back.
No shit.
Done. While Mark sits and waits for his trial, because he waits, by the way, 3 years for his trial. So he's sitting in jail waiting. And while he's waiting, he does, through multiple times of talking to police and all these things, he actually does end up telling the police where Brian's body is. And they do go and get his body, but that's not until more than a year later. So he tells them, but they don't get it until a year later. So March 2011, he actually goes on trial. Now, during his trial, the media has now deemed him the Dexter Killer because of the resemblance of the killings and his obsession with the show. He had also claimed at this point that he killed Brian in self-defense. His claim is that he was inviting men to the garage to basically just scare them into leaving. And then this way, when his slasher movie House of Cards came out with the same storyline, these men would actually come forward and say, holy shit, this actually happened to me. And it would create a crazy hype around his movie to make it seem like his movie was maybe real. Kind of the Blair Witch Project. For anybody who was in myself, I was a high schooler when Blair Witch Project came out. And the way that they marketed that movie, I didn't even realize until I would say probably 10 years later that the movie was actually fake, because they had marketed it so well to make you think it was real, that these kids really fucking died in the woods and that nobody knew who they were and that somebody had just randomly found the videotapes. They had marketed that so well that I will never forget going and watching that movie with my friends and leaving there terrified out of my mind that if this happens to people in the woods that are these college age students, oh my fucking God. And I lived, by the way, in a house that backed up to the woods. So you bet your ass I was locking.
Yeah, I now live in a house surrounded by woods. I've also seen that movie. If any of you motherfuckers come at me, I swear to God.
It's scary. Well, and again,
it
was their marketing. Can you imagine my fucking... It wasn't disappointment, but it was definitely my utter shock to find out. I would say maybe it was 5 years later, my utter shock to find out that movie was not real, especially because the people who starred in it didn't go on and star. They didn't become movie stars afterwards, right? So normally you'd be okay, they're actors. They hid those motherfuckers from the public and they didn't get any other acting jobs, or if they did, it was nowhere did you know they were in the Blair Witch Project. You did not know that it was not real because of I'm telling you, if any of you are closer to my age, you will definitely remember the marketing of Blair Witch because it was fucking brilliant. I mean, it was brilliant because everybody went and saw the movie, but it was so scary. And so that's kind of what his thought was, is if I scare these guys, I'm going to do this to a bunch of guys. And then when the movie comes out, people are going to be like, holy fuck, that's a real thing. And you'll have a bunch of guys who just randomly come out and say, holy shit, that actually happened to me. I escaped being murdered. But in Mark's mind, it was that he was supposedly not going to actually kill these men, whatever. That's what he says. So he says that that's what he was doing. And so again, he'd done this to one guy. The guy escaped, right? Then he does this to Brian. And he said when Brian came into the garage and realized that it was a setup and that it wasn't to meet the girl and that something weird was going on, Brian got really mad and attacked him. And so because he tricked him into coming to the garage. And so he said, I did kill him, but I killed him out of self-defense. No, the fuck you didn't, bro. First of all, no, that's not how it happened. And second of all, why do we know that? Because you already tried to do this to somebody else. Like you didn't scare them.
Well, and we've seen Dexter, so that's also
you fucking attacked the first guy. You were gonna kill him 150%. Right. You attacked him with a fucking stun baton.
Well, and then you dismembered his body.
I know. Some of the reports said he actually tried to burn the body first, but it didn't work. So that's what made him dismember the body. He does not make a very good serial killer.
No.
And again, he's not even a serial killer because he only killed one person.
And also, I definitely looked up a picture of him like I do every time.
He's so like average looking, right? Like
no, that motherfucker looks almost identical to the Dexter
I know
actor.
he is. I know.
That's what's even creepier about it.
So he does. He really does. Like he did admit it, but then he also says the SK confessions file that you found on my computer, they are fiction based on fact. That's what he told them.
That's not a fucking thing.
Thank you. Okay, I kept reading that going, fiction based on fact. Fiction. Jesus, I need to go back to school.
I mean, okay, I guess I could see it because
it could be partially. You could take ideas from it, but
because a fact is something that's true.
Yeah.
But if you're making a fictional,
you can take pieces of it.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, I get what he's saying. Like,
yes,
I get what he's
trying to say.
It's like the whole like, based on true events. Yes. And it's like not every single detail is true.
Right.
But there is truth to, maybe the gist of the story or there's truth of the actual crime that happened. But all the little minor details are not exacts or the people are not,
which is,
so I get it, but still.
Again, to which I say, bitch, you detailed that shit like it was a fucking diary.
Like it was your journal, yeah.
Like that was not fake because why do we know it's not fake?
Well, it wasn't fake because you actually fucking killed him.
Well, and I was going to say, why do we know for sure it's not fake? Because the first guy that you tried to kill came forward later with the story that matched your fucking SK confessions. So we know that you're lying. So anyway, so the jury also did not believe anything that he was saying, and they did find him guilty of first-degree murder. On April 12th, 2011, he is sentenced to 25 years to life with possibility of parole. Now, his defense files an appeal a month later, and their claim is that the media attention for the trial, because again, when he went to trial, he was deemed the Dexter Killer.
Right.
And so it was all over Canada.
It's kind of like nowadays the Deadpool killer because he has the same name as him.
I literally don't.
You don't know? Oh my God! I'll have to show you.
I'm gonna have to see this. I don't know. Fucking even know.
I forgot the details of it, but yeah,
I'm so ashamed.
They nickname him the Deadpool Killer because his name is
Deadpool.
Wade Wilson. Is that Deadpool?
Oh! You're talking about Wade.
Wade Wilson, right?
Is it Wilson? I literally just had a dream about that guy. That's fucking.
I want to look
weird.
up his name so I can say it.
You're talking about the guy who strangled the girls.
Yeah.
And went to jail and got life in prison. He's got tattoos all over his face and fucking stupid ass women. Hear me now.
I think he's attractive.
Okay, you can think he's attractive, but there is a big difference between being like, oh, he's cute, and then being on there being like, you can be my daddy and wanting to be his fucking pen pal. Like, bite my fucking asshole.
So
like, are you kidding?
If his name is Wade Wilson, like his actual name is Wade Wilson.
Yeah.
So they nickname him the Deadpool Killer because Deadpool's name is Wade Wilson in the movies.
Right.
So it makes me think of that too. So I can just imagine how the media is because I know how it is now with the Deadpool Killer guy.
And I didn't know he was nicknamed the Deadpool Killer.
Yeah.
I just knew.
It's only because of his actual name.
No, I mean, I get it. People do that. They pick something and they nickname people. So like, but no, I get it. I get it. And so when the media, especially in somewhere like Canada where this kind of stuff doesn't happen. I mean, I'm sure it happens. Why do I fucking pretend like Canada's the safest state or country? It's not. They have killings all the time. Anyways,
like in the cat one on Netflix.
Yeah, I was just gonna say like,
none of you have seen it,
motherfuckers. So anyway, so his lawyer was like, he needs a new trial or something because he didn't have a fair trial because the whole area knew what the media was talking about. And so therefore he was found guilty. And they end up actually withdrawing this appeal. So they put it in and they withdraw the appeal. Now, they don't say why, but I have a good reason. I have a good thought as to why. So their claim is the media. Their claim is the media is the one that's, blah, blah, blah. But you see, there's a book that actually gets released in March of 2012 called The Devil Cinema that Mark literally called the author and was like, if you're going to write a book about me, just fucking let me tell you what happened. So I think they withdrew the appeal because it was like, well,
if
what
I
are we
was
gonna
his
do?
lawyer, I would hate myself because I'd be like, how fucking idiotic of a client do I have?
Once he was in prison, because prisoners have so many rights, especially in countries that are not the United States, which we don't need to go into the whole thing. I've had this conversation many a times with people. Our prison system is garbage. It's trash. It's not built to reform. It's built to imprison. I get it. But other countries, they actually build their prisons to help reform people, right? So because he's in a prison in Canada, he is actually allowed to buy himself a TV that he can have in his cell. So he's able to buy a TV. Now,
what the fuck?
He buys the TV, and obviously because he loves TV. And what does he do? He catches up on all the Dexters that he missed and then continues to watch Dexter. Because again, this is what's going on. He's also allowed to join a dating website in 2017, which
From prison,
which I'm going to tell you right now. He should have zero access to a dating website since that is literally what he used to murder people. Number one. Number two, I am all for having prisons that would help reform people. Mark Twitchell is not the person I would put in a prison for reform. He would be in a prison that doesn't give a shit about reform, and he should have no rights.
He's very much so. There's definitely something wrong, I feel like.
There's not. So I'm going to keep going. He is allowed to do this dating website too. So ladies and gentlemen, if you are on a dating website at all, be fucking careful because people in prison are allowed to be on dating apps and websites and might not exactly be who you think they are. Scary thought.
How are you going to do your first date?
Fuck. Well, because
come to the prison.
Because here's the thing. So he actually was eligible to apply for early parole in 2023. Now, he did not. There's no record of him applying because he is still currently housed in the Saskatchewan Federal Penitentiary in Saskatchewan, Canada. However, let's not forget that in 25 years, so in the year 2036, actually, he will actually be eligible to get out of prison because he is 25 to life with the possibility of parole. So when he hits it was supposed to be 25 years, but they just stated that he was eligible for early parole. But
probably because he's been a model prisoner.
Probably a model prisoner, right. So
or if 25, it's a reform prison, then, he's reformed.
Well, I swear to you, most other countries, most of them, their prisons are built for reform. It's actually, to be fair, I can't shit on reform prisons because I don't remember what country is. It's like Italy or Sweden or Denmark or whatever. They actually have a women's prison over there that is strictly for women, and it's built for reform, and they have one of the lowest
reincarnation,
whatever. No, not reincarnate. That's when you die.
Reincarcerated.
Yeah, they have the lowest rate to where it's only a 1 or 2% reoffend, right? And it's a reform prison. And if you've ever seen the Netflix show Wentworth, it's built kind of like that. They have these prison pods, and each prison cell is not a cell. It's like an apartment, not really an apartment, but you have a bed and stuff like that. And then you have common areas where there's kitchens and things like that. And the thing that's different about this is they structure it as if you are in a boarding school type thing. So they don't put high criminals in there, high rated criminals, but women who are in there for prostitution, drug busts, theft, check forgery, that kind of shit. They'll put them in this prison. And what they do is they make them go either get their, go to school if they don't have their diplomas or whatever, or allow them to go to a college inside the prison. And they live in a community, the communal housing almost. They just have their own private bedroom doors. They are locked at night, but they're not locked in their doors. their whole pod is locked up at night, but they could freely roam around all night if they want to. And if they have children or if they are pregnant when they go into prison, their children are allowed to live in prison with them. And their children go to school in the prison in their own school area, and the moms then can actually, they volunteer in the school area, the kids have playtime, like whatever. And that has been extremely successful on reforming these women when they get out of prison and they don't reoffend. But again, you can't put somebody like good old Mark in there, because it's not the same. Right. They're not putting murderers in there, but they're putting people in there for reform. So a lot of countries do have reform prisons, which are, if they're run correctly, they're really great. Mark is a murderer, so Mark shouldn't be in any sort of reform prison at all. Anyways, I'll get off my soapbox. So yeah, so he actually is able to be paroled within the next any time really, but really truly 2036 is when they're really going to have to take a good look. It's not even parole at that point. It's literally, is 25 years enough? Did he serve enough time? Or are we going to give him more time because we think he deserves more time? Right. And I'm not trying to talk shit on Canada, but I feel like he's going to get out. I'm not even lying right now, because they don't seem to be as tough as I would expect on people, but whatever. He does end up talking, of course, like I said, to the author. His name was Steve Lillibwin, and he wanted to write a book about Mark. So he ends up calling Mark ends up calling him. The author even said, he goes, I was so shocked I got a phone call from him. And he literally said, if you're going to write a book about me, then you might as well just hear exactly what I have to say, and I'll tell you everything you need to know. So he works with him on this book, which I am going to read. I have not because I need to buy it. I want to buy it, or at least put it on my Audible, but I want to hear it because I want to hear all the things there are about more in depth with this guy. If I had more time to research, like if I was caught up on all my researching, I would have bought the book and then done this later. So if I find out a bunch of interesting information, I may end up doing like a second piece to this episode, just telling you all the new information I learned. Anyways, but one of the things that he does tell him that he did actually set up a kill room. And again, if you've seen Dexter sets up kill rooms to kill his people. He puts a table in there. He covers the whole entire room with plastic and duct tape, kills them, and then basically wraps it all up. Because again, remember, Dexter's a blood splatter
dismembers
analysis.
Them, puts them in garbage bags,
drops them in some episodes he drops them in the ocean. Other times he disposes them differently. But he does admit to setting up a kill room. He said that he had several rolls of plastic sheets, which again, Dexter. He had a 45-gallon steel drum that was 4 body parts, which again, if you go later on in Dexter, there is a part where he goes, I think he puts them in barrels and puts them in the swamp. Okay. Cause the ocean is where he normally puts them in. All of a sudden, all these bodies start washing ashore and he's like, got to change where I drop my bodies. He also said that he had a game processing kit, which came with a butcher knife, a fillet knife, and a serrated saw that he was planning on using for cutting bones. Now he does say, I did not copy Dexter. I am not a copycat Dexter. And he said, however, I do want to pay homage to his character.
Oh my God.
Now
fucking guy.
He specifically said, and I quote, there is no root cause, no school bully, or impressionably gory movies or video game violence, or Showtime television series that point the finger at. It is what it is.
Except Dexter.
And I am what I am. No, he's saying Dexter is not what made me want to kill people.
Bullshit.
I agree. I totally believe it.
I don't know if it's what made him want to kill, but it's what gave him ideas on how to kill.
Probably.
Because the fact that it's so similar, like, come on.
I mean, he swears it's not, but you can.
Then you fucking binge watch it in prison?
At one point, he said, yeah, but I binge watch Dexter and I don't go out and kill people.
But I'm saying he binge watched it after, almost like he's getting a thrill of reliving the murders is what it makes me think of.
So the thing is, he even said, he did tell the author, because the author brought up the fact that he's nicknamed the Dexter Killer, and he said, if you really notice, my murders are nothing, or my murder or whatever is nothing at all like Dexter. Which, if you really think about it, the only thing that was Dexter-like in his murder was the fact that he had a table that he supposedly cut the body up on and wrapped it in plastic. Because if you're really copying Dexter, first of all, the whole room would have been covered in plastic, not just windows. Second of all, you wouldn't have been grabbing some random person on the street. You'd be finding bad guys to kill. And third of all, you would have never left blood anywhere. So if he really was copying Dexter, he would have done a hell of a lot better job than that. And anybody who's watched Dexter, you could say the same thing. I am not a murderer. I don't want to kill people. So for me, it's hard. I understand. What I understand of what he's saying is he's saying there is no weird background explanation as to why I did this. I did not get bullied when I was a kid. I was not abused. I did not watch horror films and gory video games. Watching Dexter, none of that is what caused me to kill. I am who I am. I did it. It is me. This is just how I am. That's what he's saying, which I'm not going to say I appreciate, but what I am going to say is I understand what he's saying, because it's always quick to try to blame. Oh, this person did this because, for instance, video games. Video games are the big one right now, is people try to blame all the violence on video games. And I can definitively say I don't actually agree with that statement. I do not think a video game can make somebody go out and want to kill somebody. I just not that's actually wrong, because I don't mean it that way. I mean, I don't think a person watching a video or playing a video game, if they're not born with those innate inner thoughts, they're not just going to play a video game and go, I play Call of Duty, I'm going to go kill a bunch of people. That's not how it works. At least in my brain, it doesn't. It's heavily debated. I have my views. Everybody else has theirs, whatever. But that's what he's saying, is I'm not going to put this blame on anything but who I am. And then finally, he does state this, and he's not fucking wrong. Dexter, don't forget, is a monster. A self-aware one, no less, but he is a monster. And that's true, because in Dexter, he's a fucking serial killer. We don't idolize serial killers. Serial killers aren't good people. And in the movie or in the TV show Dexter, you almost like Dexter. You like him, and you're kind of rooting for him. And so what his point is that all these people who keep comparing him to Dexter, because he did talk about, I find it really funny that you all binge watch and love Dexter just as much as I do. But when it happens in real life, all of a sudden I'm the bad guy. And he has a point. He has a slight point. It's Hollywood.
Yeah, but it's fucking fake versus
it's fake.
Real.
That's true. It's fake, but he does have a point. That's his point, is that when
you know
it really...
how many times I idolize the bad guy in some of the fucking shows and movies that I watch, but I don't fucking go out and do
Obviously.
the same type of crime.
Right. And that's the part that he's not...
Or if it were to happen, I wouldn't be like, oh,
And he also, when they were looking through shit on his computer, they also found a file that he self-diagnosed himself as a psychopath. And he did it by like...
a quiz online.
Not a quiz. Am I a psychopath? No, it was more like, I think he was like, he said that a psychiatrist had diagnosed him as a psychopath, but there is no...
They would have been able to find record of who
right,
the
there's no record of that.
was.
But it does show that like one of his big things is he doesn't have emotion. He actually doesn't. So would he be a psychopath? He's a sociopath, I think, for sure, because he doesn't feel bad at all about it.
Well, and he's murdered somebody, so maybe.
Yeah, he could be. It's like, I really hope he doesn't get out of jail, and it's not for any reason other than because he doesn't have the emotions and he really doesn't care.
Well, I would say he doesn't care.
I just don't think, I think you would see him.
I think he would
find
be a
another way.
reoffender.
I do too. I think you would find another way. Maybe not the same way.
Well, and with how many dating apps and technology there is
it's
now.
even scarier. Yeah. He definitely, I just thought it was interesting because he's nicknamed the Dexter Killer. And I was like, oh, I really like Dexter. And I do see the similarities between him and Dexter 100%. Yeah. But I also understand where he's coming from, where he's like, yeah, but Dexter didn't make me kill.
Right.
And the fact that his serial killer confessions is literally talking about how I became a serial killer. What does that tell me? Had he not been caught, we'd have a serial killer on our hand, and I'd be talking about him on Fatal Blend and not here 100%. Is what would be happening. So I'm thankful.
And see if he gets out though.
I know that's what. So
you
these
run the
are
risk
the things,
of him becoming a serial killer.
I know. So that's the thing is
because he's been locked up for at least. Well, if they do it
he's been locked up for 13 years as of now.
Right.
But if he does the 25, 2036 is when
that's 25 years of not being able to fill that urge.
Right. And I don't know. And again, he doesn't talk about
I also don't know how Canada works with all their laws and shit.
I don't either. I mean, they can keep him because his sentence is 25 to life, which means he could stay in jail for the rest of his life. If a judge deems him that he needs to a danger to society. However, I will just side note this is not the first Canadian murder that I've done. Canada I want to say I've at least covered 2, if not 3 Canadian serial killers on Fatal Blend. And most of the time it's because they fucking let them out of jail. or it's because they don't give them a harsh enough sentence, and they don't have the death penalty in Canada. So it's not like you can do that. It's literally like life in prison. So I have watched them actually not like they've never given people a full life to where they can never get out of prison. There's always a chance for parole for most of them. And they
allow the dangerous ones to continue.
They do. And
dangerous.
I don't get it. So there's
apparently they just need to cross over here, and then we'll give them a harsh ass sentence.
Well, here's why I find this funny, and then we can be done. I just saw I don't even know who the fuck she was, because she's not, whatever. Somebody from Canada, I don't know who she was. She's some lady of importance, was talking about their border, because with all the election stuff, a lot of people had said that they want to move to Canada, right? A lot of people have said that because Canada is the next best fucking country and it's right next to us, right? So
fuck that. I'm moving to Italy.
They said, there was a lady who asked, she said, what would you tell American citizens who want to move to Canada? Like, what would you tell them? And her literal response was, I'm going to tell them we protect our borders and we protect our Canadians, and you are more than welcome to come here, but you have to follow protocol. You have to go through the steps. And we love when people come into Canada, but we will always protect Canada first. And so I'm sitting here going, well, if you protect Canadians, then why the fuck are you letting people like this have lighter sentences? Because your guys' justice system is just as fucked up as ours. Our justice system is fucked up in a different way. I think every country, I don't think there's any country that has a perfect justice system.
No.
But so for this guy, I don't know. We'll see what ends up happening, if he gets out, if he doesn't get out. I don't know. It'll be interesting. But yeah, I didn't know he was the Dexter Killer until I started researching him. I found his name, Mark Twitchell, but I did not know what.
No, I just think it's funny that you didn't know that he was the Dexter
I
Killer.
didn't, because
I didn't obviously
where
I didn't
I
either,
found
but
his name, because so the way that I find my true crimes is I don't like doing super current ones. And so there's a couple of books that I've looked into, and they have names of murders or true crime. And so that's pretty much where I find him. So it didn't say Mark Twitchell, the Dexter Killer. It just said Mark Twitchell. And I was like, yeah, that sounds fine. And as soon as I Googled him, I was like, the Dexter Killer? I was like, oh, fuck yes. And so I was really into it. I thought it was really cool because, again, I'm a huge Dexter fan, and I find it very fascinating when somebody is so interested in something like the TV show Dexter and then turns around and starts to kill people. What makes your brain so different? Why is it that I'm not out killing people, but you are? Obviously, we have a brain difference, right? So that's always been very fascinating to me as to why I can watch violent shit and true crime and not have the urge to go kill people. And then other people sometimes blame that for their bad behavior, which I don't agree with. Anyways, that is the story of Mark Twitchell, and AKA the Dexter Killer. And we appreciate all the follows and all of the listening and all the things that y'all do. Keep it up. Again, follow us on any of our social media platforms. We do have Instagram and a TikTok. Again, Crime Bitches. And I don't know if you guys remember, but the reason why we have all of our fucking shit is called Crime Bitches, but the podcast is named Crime B. It's because the people who host our podcast wouldn't allow me to use the word bitches. So I had already created everything else. So just remember, it's Crime B Podcast for Gmail. If you want to send us something, Crime Bitches on all the other platforms. And then follow us on whatever you're listening to and share us if you like what you hear. And other than that, I think we're going to say, catch you on the flip side, bitches.
Bye, bitches.